Hi, my name is Sidra, and I'm doing my presentation on social injustices around the world. So, first, I want to say my apologies. I have to record this because I wasn't unprepared that I was going to be on a bus to Phoenix during my presentation. So, anywho, okay. So I did social injustices because I think it's super, super prevalent in our lives right now, and this year in particular, and honestly, the past like 10 or so years, in particular the past couple years, but have really, our generation, Gen Z, and all generations actually, have been very, very mobilized and uh, engaged in wanting to change society and our environment and call out these social injustices in our society. So I really wanted to talk about that today. So, all right. So first of all, social injustice is a worldwide problem that every single government is and administration is facing. Honestly, it's not just the United States; it's every country, no matter how developed they are. It truly is. It's every single country. So and um, even from the beginning of developing like societies and stuff like that, social injustices have always been a thing. It's just that in the past 20 or so years, I would say, um, it's been people have been bringing up, well, more than 20 years. People have been kind of fed up, and they're putting their energy into addressing them. So with these displays of distrust and conflict in and with the quote unquote system, I guess, it's really forced leaders around the world to think about how they're leading their country, um, how they're making their laws, how they're doing all that kind of stuff, and thinking about change, or it's dividing people even more than it ever has before. So, and that's from everywhere around the world, but especially in the United States. And then with these uprisings of people worldwide, the relationship of and like with religion and government has really been brought into the spotlight. So there's been a lot of arguments and, or I guess you could say, discussions on how much religion should really be involved in political decision making. And of course, this looks different in every country, like I said before, because everyone has their own laws, everyone has their own policies, all that kind of stuff. But if you take a look at the United States, as you all know, we have the separation of church and state. But some people at the moment are making claims or arguments that people in positions of power are basing policies that they're voting on or making on their religion and their religious beliefs. A lot of people have problems with that. And I'm not trying to get political or anything. This is happening all across the board. So, but people are noticing and they're calling that out and trying to hold people to a higher standard here. And there's a lot of issues that qualify as social injustice matters that are in the super hot topics right now, have to do with discrimination and hate that's rooted in societies. Like, I'm sure you guys have all heard the word systemic racism a lot recently in 2020. So that's a really big part of social injustice. And we have to address that if we want to be able to address any of the social injustices around the world, and in the United States. And a lot of people are calling out education systems in first world countries who have the ability, first world or developed, my apologies, who have the ability and funds to change how they're teaching the rising generations and youths about systemic racism and social injustices and discrimination of any sort. Because a lot of what we learn in school before you get to college is stuff that it hasn't changed much, but things are changing so often around here, um, just around the world, that we need to education system needs to change with the times, and so people are really calling them out at the moment. And whether that's a good thing, I would say it's a good thing, but we'll see how fast that things change with that. But people are saying stuff. So, and then of course, like I said before, social injustice looks different in every country, no matter how developed or undeveloped they are. A country that I looked at in particular, though, was Brazil. So Brazil has a lot of social injustices, and honestly, not much action is happening to attempt to change that. And a lot of people, when they think of Brazil, they think of it being a very poor country. But honestly, they are just a very, very socially unjust country. And they do have the ability and the power to lower their poverty rates and make a big change in their society for their citizens. But people in positions of power are kind of failing to make long-lasting changes and address things that are happening in the world right now, or in their country, which is really hard to see, and a lot of people are starting to call them out for that. So this is a map that I made on ArcGIS of, well, obviously it's not just Brazil, but I focus on Brazil. And I put a layer on here that has to do with the World Development Indicator, which shows a wide range of percentages that have to do with development in terms of like poverty, manufacturing, education, and employment. So we'll see if any of these click. Okay. Oh, okay. Can't really see that. That's awkward. Okay, well, my apologies. That just, I thought that was kind of interesting. They didn't have much about social injustice on ArcGIS, but they did have that. So some things to do to help. This was a super brief overview on just what social injustice is and how people are changing with the times and kind of fed up with what's happening right now. So there's some things you guys can do to help, and we can all do to help. Educate yourself. Really, education is key in changing anything in any society, no matter where it is. So especially on particular movements, so you are able to ask or to answer questions and to make long-lasting change, rather than like, oh yeah, I know of this thing happening, but you don't know anything about it, like the history or anything like that. So that's super important. That's number one. Also, working on your own habits and beliefs. I think that a lot of people realize that like change starts with things you do at home, things you do just yourself. So that's super important, is to work on your own habits and things you say, where you buy stuff from, all that kind of stuff. Research local things that are happening. Like, are there things happening in your hometown, in Flagstaff, and wherever, that you feel strongly about, that have to do with social injustice or anything that you want to see a change happening? So research that, and then going with that, taking action in your community and being able to make that change in your community. And then go to a protest, go to a demonstration. Those get the attention of leaders, and they are super important. And then use your social media wisely. I know that we live in a time where social media is everything, right? So use your platform, educate your followers on things that are happening in the world right now, things that they can do to help. Yeah, don't just say like, oh, this is what's happening. Be like, okay, here's a link. Here's something to donate to. Here's a website to go to learn more information. Volunteer your time. That kind of goes with your taking action in your community and go to a protest. But if there's any organizations that need your help, volunteer your time. It feels good. And then donate to any organization that you know and you've researched that is helping other countries or in the United States with things like social injustice. And then these are my resources, anti-bibliography here. So thank you.